my channel. This morning I want to go over the World War II ration food plan. Now, as you remember, I had a food ration tracker book, and I purchased this at the Dollar Tree. It was $1.25. So today, first I want to go over some of the things that during World War II rationing affected. Now, you were allowed certain amounts of certain things. You had to have points, which were your ration coupons, and then you also had to have the cash to purchase them with. So if you didn't have the points, you couldn't purchase the item. And obviously if you didn't have the cash, you couldn't purchase the item. So one of the first things that was rationed, not first on the list, but one thing was butter. You could receive 3 3/4 ounces a week of butter. Ham or bacon, it was 8 ounces. Margarine, which was plentiful, was 6.5 ounces. Lard was 8 ounces. Sugar was 14.5 ounces, and meat was 2 pounds. Milk was 5 pints, and you got 2 eggs a week. Now, you were able to get 2 pounds of jams or jellies every 2 months. And that was due to the fact that there was a shortage on sugar because it was used for the troops. You could also get 1 package of dried eggs, and the package was equivalent to 12 eggs, but you only got this every 4 weeks. The sweets and the chocolates were limited to 1 pound, 8 ounces every 4 weeks. So the different rationing items, like I said, 1 egg per adult per week. You know, a chicken egg, a real egg. So these things were a challenge to work with during these times because I'm using the ration guidelines for my food ration plan. Due to the increase in prices on bacon, ham, different meats, availability, sometimes milk, other things, even jams and jellies, I had to do some substitutions and I had to cut back on quite a few things. But I tried to stay as close as possible to the rationing as I possibly could. So let's talk about the plate that I used. And I guess you're thinking, why would it matter what plate she uses? So let's take a normal sized dinner plate. That's a normal sized dinner plate. Let me pull it back and show you how large it is. It's about bigger than my hand. So let's look at the plate that I used because I was going to be rationing food. I wanted to feel like I was getting a full meal. So I got a plate that is normally used for a salad. And this is the size, I'll put a napkin behind this. This is the size of the plate that I used. So when I filled my plate or put my food on my plate, I felt like I was getting a full meal. When in actuality, it was a World War II ration meal. Now, back then they didn't have different size plates that they would use because they were being rationed on food. They just filled the plate with whatever they had. Now, another thing is with the eggs. If you had a farm and you had chickens or you were raising chickens, you could turn in your egg coupon or your ration stamp for chicken feed. And you would get the chicken feed, and in essence you would get more eggs from your chickens. So you didn't use the eggs that were in the store. This worked out very well. Also remember, everybody was growing a victory garden as large as they possibly could. So they had vegetables, herbs, and also they had berry vines, fruit trees, everything that they could possibly grow in their yard, they would grow. So I took that and I looked at the list and tried to make a menu. And first thing I did is I did a weigh-in. I won't tell you exactly what I started at, but over the last week, 7 days, on this rationing food plan, I lost 1 pound, which is good. Could it have been more? Possibly, if I was working in the yard more. I did have a unfortunate incident with heat exhaustion, so I could not work outside for a while. So the exercise was down. Now the meal tracker, I started with breakfasts, and what I used was oatmeal, steel cut oats. That was the balance of what I ate for every breakfast. I did add fresh fruit because I am taking things from what I have and I'm putting them on the basics. I did have eggs, and I scrambled the eggs and split them in half. So I had half an egg one day and half the egg the other day. And made bread, so I had toast. And I use almond milk because I don't drink regular milk. There were some substitutions. One day I did have a bagel, a half a bagel, and that was a substitution for toast. Peanut butter, I did put peanut butter on toast. And then one day for breakfast, I had sausage. So was I hungry? A little bit. The steel cut oats really filled you up though. So we go on, they have snacks in the morning and in the afternoon. Most of the time I would have water with half an apple for both snacks. One in the morning, one in the afternoon. So that would be a total of 1 apple with just a glass of ice water. For lunches, I tried to do things that were fast and easy. Peanut butter and bread. I did have a hamburger one day. I had chili because back then, and it was without meat. Chili with beans and vegetables. So it was a vegetarian chili. I had stir fry, which was all vegetables, no meat. I carried that over into my dinners. So I would have half for lunch and the other half for dinner. Anything I could find in my garden, whether it was radishes, salad, anything I found in my garden I could bring in, and it was like free food because that didn't count. And then you go into what exercise did I do? Again, I had a bout with heat exhaustion, so there were days I could not go out in the garden and work. Before then, I was going in the garden every morning, and then when it was too warm, I would come in the house and do things in the house. That was most of my fitness for the last 7 days. Also, the shopping list consisted of very, very basic items. You can't go in and buy 1 egg. So I bought a dozen and it sits. Almond milk, peanut butter, broccoli, spinach. I have onion in the garden. I have garlic in the garden. Apples. I cooked some and made some cooked apples with a little cinnamon, very little sugar, steel cut oats, and then I had bread and tortillas, olive oil. Now that was my substitution for butter and margarine because I don't eat either one of those. Tomato soup, and also chicken soup. I did buy a small package of chicken. We're talking no more than 2 chicken breasts, very small. So that was for multiple weeks. All in all, it was interesting. I will continue to do this for the rest of for another 3 weeks, and I will report in every week on how it goes. I assume that I'm going to be able to get out in that heat a little bit more after, things level off with my health. But the meals I found were labor intensive when you had to, you have to cook from scratch. There wasn't any open a box, dump it out, go to the freezer, warm it up, and then you have lunch or you have dinner. You have to start from zero. You have to you have 1 egg a week, not a day and not a meal, 1 egg a week. So you have to figure out what day, or if you scramble the eggs and split it in half, what 2 days you get to have an egg. I appreciate you stopping by. Stop in next week around the same time so you can see an update on my World War II ration food plan. I'm so glad you stopped by, and I hope to see you real soon.